Hi, it's Jaden from SteamyKitchen.com and you're watching channelapa.com. Technically have about 120, and I'm absolutely not responsible at all for that, the front cover of the book, because it says 101, which is catchier than 120. It does have like more than 200 photographs. It has about 120 recipes. And why did I pick that number? Because when you're working with a publisher, you've got a set budget on how many recipes can be printed in a book, and that's how the numbers come about. Actually, I had a lot more, and what I did is on the blog, when I started writing the recipes and compiling the recipes, I put out a call for recipe testers, and I had 200 recipe testers from all over the world test these recipes. And I set up a private blog, and every few days I would just post new recipes up, and they would test them, and a bunch of them didn't make it. And they didn't make it because either the results weren't consistent, or they couldn't find specific ingredients easily. So those recipes I would cut out and kind of hone and refine them. Some of the recipes, about 25% of the recipes, are sort of like the best of on SteamyKitchen.com, and then there's a whole bunch of them that are inspired by other bloggers, because as a blogger, we share, contribute as a community, and I wanted to make sure I had that spirit of community in the book. And then there's some that are my mom's recipes that she taught me. You have to understand how to make food look really good, because it isn't about the camera and it isn't about the picture. It's everything. It's the secret to, I think, one of my biggest skills is knowing how to make something look really good on a plate. And I don't use any of the funky food styling tricks that a lot of other food stylists use. Like, I don't have paintbrushes, I don't have tweezers, I use my hands and chopsticks. I don't use some of the non-edible stuff. Like, have you ever heard, like, for ice cream they use Crisco, or they just funky weird stuff. Whatever I cook, I shoot, and then we eat it for dinner. So it's all edible, and so the food styling aspect has to really play into it, because a camera can only do so much, and to make a food look so delicious that it just bursts out of your screen, or out of the page of a book, that you just really are hungry and want to go make it. I did. That was one of my rules for doing the book. The publisher contacted me about when my blog was about 6 months old, so it was very early on. I really, I didn't have that much television experience. I didn't have a whole lot of experience. The blog is brand new, but they saw something in me and they offered me a book deal. And I said yes, but I want to do my own photography, because on the blog I do my own photography. And my very first book, if it wasn't my own, then it just wouldn't be that authentic. Like, it wouldn't really be me. So the publisher is like, yeah, you can do your own photography, but it's not good enough. And I'm like, what? Yeah, it's good enough. They said, no, it's not. So I worked for 6 months without a contract. 6 months going back and forth with the publisher. I would work on my photography, email it to them, and then they would print it out, and they would send it to me on cookbook paper, and they would say, okay, this is why your photography is not good enough. See this, this, and this. And some of it was styling too. And 6 months I did back and forth, and then finally I got it. And after a while it becomes sort of like an ego thing, like, yeah, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get I'm gonna get this. Three months into writing the blog, I kind of saw a really, between 3 to 6 months, I really saw a big potential in what I was doing, and I was like, God, this would be so awesome to make a business out of. So I incorporated, I just really took it seriously, and I really sat down and thought about, what is it that I can do to make this into a career and a business. And one thing I knew for sure was that it wasn't about one method of communication, it wasn't about one form of media, it was multimedia. And I really focused on getting my foot in the door of many different types of media, whether it's television, on newspaper, radio, cooking classes in person. I'm not scared of speaking in front of millions of people. I don't have, you know, the fear of public speaking. So it was, you know, relatively easy for me to say, okay, I'm going to start tackling these things. So what I did for print was I contacted the teeniest, tiniest, smallest little community newspaper, the one that they throw in your driveway and it's, you know, and it rains and you don't even open it, you just throw it away. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying that. I love them. I love them. They gave me my first food column. I gave them the recipe for free, and I said, just, you know, publish it once a month, no charge, and I would give you a recipe, you know, some intro, and then a photograph. And they said, free content? Hell yeah! So and then a bigger newspaper called, So now I am writing every Sunday for the Tampa Tribune newspaper. It's in print as well as online. And for television, same thing. I called the teeniest, tiniest, littlest ABC affiliate that only broadcasts in like one zip code, and I said, I know you have a kitchen, can I come, you know, can I come and cook? And they said, sure. So I went, I did great. They asked me back once a month, so that's how I started. And then a bigger station called and a bigger network called, and now I'm on daytime. I'm on twice a month, and it's broadcasted in 100 different markets. And, you know, for 2 years straight, that's all I did was practice, and hone my television skills. I'm still not quite there yet. There's still a lot of things I really want to work on. It's hard to smile, look pretty, and cook at the same time, and talk. So there's still a lot of things I have to work on, but I'm very happy, very, very grateful for all the opportunities. That's how it started. A lot of people ask me about, oh, what's your social media strategy, especially people in the industry and you know, people interested in how I became so popular so fast. And my answer is always, I don't have a social media strategy. Social media is more like a way of communication, and I don't have a fax strategy, and I don't have an email strategy, and I don't have a cell phone strategy. I consider my blog and Twitter things that I do, you know, day in, day out, as part of my natural day in the life of. So it's not like I set a time and say, okay, now I've got to, this is my Twitter hour, I've got to do Twitter. It's not like that. And I think that's what made me so successful, is because I'm very natural and very, very, it's just part of who I am now. And that's how I became, I have gained so many followers so quickly. I do. I work with goodbite.com, and usually like twice a month I'll be in a video and we'll have one subject and we'll talk about it and they'll edit it down. And then we're kind of just throwing around some ideas with TLC, Discovery Channel's TLC. I am a food columnist for them. I write at tlccooking.com, and it's called Steamy Kitchen on TLC. And we're just throwing some ideas around, but I love doing video because I like things to come alive, and I like the, you know, spontaneity of video. Okay, as a beginner, a tip or trick, you know, I always say that you learn one recipe first. Be really, really good at one recipe and then start playing off that recipe. So if it's meatballs, for example, if you can master one recipe and learn it by heart, and then you say, what if I take away this spice and instead I add 5 spice powder to it, and instead of this vegetable I add, or instead of this vegetable I add lychees to it. Now it's Chinese. Okay, take that same meatball recipe and take away another spice, and instead maybe like a Moroccan spice blend, and instead of cilantro add a different type of herb, and it becomes something totally different tasting. That's my biggest advice to people, is don't try to do too many things at the same time. Master one thing and then start playing with the variations. And once you're familiar and you start getting a little more confident in the kitchen, then you can start playing with other recipes and do the exact same thing. And you know, that's kind of how I taught myself, and that's how I learned. Well, I have to think about my next book. Now that I'm on tour with the my first cookbook, Steamy Kitchen Cookbook, I have to think about what am I going to do next. And I have no idea what I'm going to write about, but you know, I think it has to be something with eating healthy or light, because I gained 10 pounds writing this book, and if I wrote another book and gained another 10 pounds, man, I'd be in trouble.